Hey Emma,
Yes, Madelyn.
if Mario were a bug snack, what kind of bug snack would he be?
Pasta roni.
That's pretty good. I'm gonna say he's gonna be a plumber fly. Hello and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
The plumber part was the original part, and then I realized it needed to have like a bug name too.
Yeah. See, I don't know if I'd want to eat a plumber fly, though.
Why not?
I'm just picturing like a,
Like a plunger?
yeah, a plunger, like flying around on wings.
But like the head is a plum. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good character design idea.
I am sure something like that exists somewhere, just a plunger with wings. I can't imagine.
I mean, look, I think it's pretty good. Anyway, listeners, thanks for tuning in to Talk This. I'm your, I don't know, fruity host, Madelyn.
I'm your paper-thin host, Emma.
Nice, you can see through her. And this week, we are going to be talking about Paper Mario, not just Mario. Have we ever just talked about Super Mario Bros?
I think so.
I think we have. Really?
I think we have, yeah.
Dang, I'm gonna have to go back to the archive.
We've done a lot of the classics at this point.
We did a lot of the classics in like 2017 when I didn't know how to podcast. So at some point I feel like I need a do-over on The Legend of Zelda, for example.
When they release Breath of the Wild 2, we can get a do-over on that, you know.
Okay, fair enough. So our old game is going to be Paper Mario, and our new game, as you might have guessed from the joke, is going to be Bugsnax. That's right, we're talking about Bugsnax.
Oh, whoa, whoa, as they say.
It's Bugsnax.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, first, it's Paper Mario. So let's talk about that. Talk about inedible paper before we move to edible bug-like creatures.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Paper Mario is an RPG from Intelligent Systems, probably most played in the Talk This households for Fire Emblem.
Yes. This is their other big series. I'm sure they have other ones also.
They also make WarioWare.
Yeah.
That's like a big series, but it's an influential game.
Yeah.
And it's published by Nintendo, like Dodoy. It does feel kind of weird. I know that there have been Mario RPGs for like 30 years, or 25 years at least.
Yeah.
But it does still feel very weird to talk about a Mario game and not just calling it a Mario game.
Sure.
Again, I recognize that that Mario appears in many different games across many different genres, but I do feel like Mario game is itself a genre.
I guess so, yeah.
Not that it's not. Like, to be clear, it is not, but it feels like it ought to be. And every time I encounter a Mario game that is not a Mario game, I am sort of somewhat surprised, as someone who didn't really grow up with so many of the, like, classic Nintendo titles.
Yes, but Paper Mario is not even the first Mario RPG.
I know, I was shocked.
It was originally planned to be Super Mario RPG 2 and be developed by Square Enix, since Square had made Super Mario RPG. But instead they hired Intelligent Systems and decided to call it, well, it's Mario Story in Japan apparently, but Paper Mario.
Mario Story is so intense.
The second one they called Paper Mario RPG in Japan.
That's confusing. That starts to become very confusing.
It does sound a little confusing.
I will note, Square had the opportunity to do this. Nintendo asked them back for, RPG 2. But they were busy with a game. It's kind of dumb. Like, I can't believe they turned this down. They were busy with a game you probably even never heard of. Final Fantasy VII? The 7th game in a series? Really? You could have worked with Nintendo.
Was it really for Final Fantasy VII? This came out a few years after that, so
it
must have been in development for a while.
So there's possibly that. I do wonder if, I don't know how much Square was involved. I don't know very much about the development of Advent Children and that kind of stuff. I actually don't even know
when did
when that
Advent
came out.
Children come out? I don't think that came out in 2000.
Crisis Core?
That seems like it would be... Crisis Core didn't come out in 2000. That was for the PSP.
I don't know anything about the timeline for Final Fantasy VII other content.
I was gonna be like, if Advent Children came out in 2000, that would have been like a huge leap forward for 3D graphics, I feel like. It's not quite that far of a leap forward.
Fair enough. I mean, it may be that it just barely overlapped, that they were like finishing Final Fantasy VII and they were not going to be able to...
Yeah.
Anyway, this is just what I read. Development cycles are very weird. But anyway, Square passed, presumably, I mean, supposedly because they were working on Final Fantasy VII, but hey, maybe just because they were working on any of the other successful Final Fantasy games that they made. Maybe because they were too busy thinking about what Kingdom Hearts would be. Advent Children came out in 2005, by the way.
Yeah,
so,
that sounds a little bit more reasonable.
So not that. Anyway... and the original Paper Mario and many of the Paper Marios are produced by Miyamoto, so as Nintendo as it can get. I'll point out, as I always must whenever things surprise me, that Paper Mario feels like a Talk This mashup to me. Paper Mario feels like a game that we could have come up with if Paper Mario didn't exist. Maybe not with the aesthetic, but like a Mario RPG.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that is just smashing Mario with an RPG, so that feels a little bit like a gimme.
I know, but frankly, we don't have the creative capacity to come up with anything that isn't a gimme. So it does feel like something we would have been like, oh, Mario RPG, and then we'd be like, that's too simple. Let's come up with something worse than that. And then at the end of the episode, we'd be like, maybe we should have just stuck with the Mario RPG all along.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? In some ways... is a pretty good map of the trajectory of the Paper Mario series. So the original Paper Mario, Emma probably already said this, whatever, released in 2000 in Japan and then 2001 elsewhere for the N64. And then, eventually appeared on the Wii Virtual Console in 2007 and then in the Wii U Virtual Console in 2015. I'm really irritated that the Virtual Console is not really a thing on Switch, to be honest. For Talk This reasons, honestly. Because, like, Paper Mario, I wasn't going to buy Origami King because I didn't check, but I assume it's still $60.
I mean, yeah, probably.
But, like, I might have dabbled in playing a little bit of Paper Mario.
It probably would have been $60.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But still, the Switch really... I realize I'm not very original in saying this, but, like, wouldn't it be neat if the Switch had a Virtual Console? It won't, because Nintendo has better figured out how to monetize this stuff now. Yeah. But just
perhaps too well.
Limited release on something you call a Virtual Console. Sounds dope to me. That seems fine.
Sure.
Let's do that. So, anyway, now that I've gotten totally sidetracked. So Paper Mario takes place in the Mushroom Kingdom, like... most, if not all, of the Paper Mario games, I believe. And it's a pretty standard Mario story, more or less. Mario and Luigi go to a party that Peach invited them to. This is always a bad idea. I don't know why Mario and Luigi accept invites to anything.
Yeah,
have they not learned?
But we don't go to parties anymore.
We don't go to parties. We don't go to, like, mansions. We just don't go to large buildings.
Yeah.
So...
they're in one of the games, I don't remember if it's this one or Thousand Year Door, you can find, like, Luigi's diary in the basement and read it without him knowing. But there's, like, an entry about how, like, he thinks he's seeing ghosts and he's scared and he wants Mario to come back.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So what I'm saying is Mario's just a big cinematic universe with deep lore, is what I'm saying.
It's true. The Mario Cinematic Universe, the MCU, is very deep.
It's very popular.
Mario Vision coming soon. It's like an AR game.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, basically, they go to a party. Bowser screws everything up, abducts Peach, and he's got, like, this fancy magic wand, more or less, that makes him invincible. And so it's an RPG, so we gotta travel around and get the little, what are they, like star spirits? Star spirits, but whatever, you know, RPG thingy, magic thingy.
Yeah, magic thingy that you need to collect.
Yeah. So, and then Mario goes around collecting those star spirits so he can save Peach from Bowser.
With his friend Goomba.
I know, there's so many, so you get partners, right? It's an RPG. You get partners. That does feel like a required part of it being an RPG, and part of why the series is, like, less easily categorized as an RPG, starting with, like, entry 4 or 5 or so. But yeah, there's all of these partners that are modeled on enemies from the series. So, like Emma said, Goombario, which is so funny. Imagine naming your Goomba child after, like, the person who is, like, cleansing your race.
Jesus.
Like, I realize it's a little dark, but, like, is that not what Mario is doing? He runs around jumping on them. Plumbing them. Anyway. But, like, you also, like, there's Cooper, who's a Koopa Trooper. There's Bombette. There's Lady Bow. There's a bunch of other ones. And that kind of, like, fun creativity in the series gets totally stamped out eventually. Because Miyamoto eventually becomes an old man. Or whatever, however you want to justify it. Because in these first couple of games, you see a lot of these like reimagined takes on existing Mario characters or that kind of thing, or like flip to gender Mario characters. Really, like, this is the genesis of the Bowsette. Not that she literally appears here, but, like, this is where the seeds of Bowsette are sown.
Yeah.
To be harvested into memes.
I mean, I think,
15 years later.
1,000 Year Door that has, like, it goes from Goombario to, like, Goombarina, right? Is your partner?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically Bowsette, just in lesser form, you know?
Yeah. This is not even her final form.
Exactly.
So the conceit of it is that the reason it's paper is that it's a novel, right? Of, like, a book of Mario's adventures, and the whole aesthetic of it is Mario is this, like, Paper Mario, for lack of a better term. And the series goes on to explore, like, a lot of different aspects of what that might look like and what that might mean, which is kind of neat, and would be neater if the series was on a trajectory where it, like, got better and more creative, and not, like, with a major slump in the 2010s.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's an RPG, right? So there's nothing, like, especially surprising to tell you about what this game is like, right? It has turn-based combat, you solve some puzzles, right? Ultimately, at the end, you fight Bowser and you get Peach back. Like, a spoiler, I guess, but...
Peach does also fight. And do some stuff. Yeah, in between
each Mario chapter, you get to play as Peach, and she gets to, like, try to get out of the castle, basically. Through what seems to be some, like, very silly, elaborate plans.
Yeah.
Like she tries to bake a cake to maybe bribe someone or something. Or, like, there's, like, cloning involved. There's a lot of weirdness. But that's how she gets to hear about, like, what Mario's doing, because, like, before she gets caught, she gets to hear Bowser talking about Mario fighting the boss.
Yeah.
So, before there was Zoom.
There was Bowser ranting.
Bowser. So as Emma mentioned, there's a bunch of sequels and stuff, right? So the next one is Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door, which comes out in GameCube on 2004. Frankly, from the plot synopsis of that one, it pretty much sounds like a carbon copy of the original.
That's the one that people, like, I've heard people be like, that's, like, the one, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's the classic.
Which makes sense, you know, of course they figured out how to refine things, and it's fine. Like, your RPG doesn't need that much originality in what it is, especially if it's Paper Mario. But literally, it's like, once again, Peach gets abducted by someone, and Mario has to collect 7 things to save her. I was like, this is literally the same.
She has been kidnapped by moon dwellers, so that's a bit of a twist.
You're right. It's not Bowser. We can spice it up with some moon
She
stuff.
also uses email. So no longer is Bowser ranting, she communicates via the interwebs.
Yes. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about the original is, of course, despite the fact that Luigi came to this party with you, afterwards, he just goes home. And at the end, once Mario has saved the world, he comes back and he tells Luigi about everything that he's done.
Yeah.
And Luigi is like, I stayed at home. Poor Luigi. It's tough to be the butt monkey, you know?
Again, though, in Thousand Year Door, Luigi gets his adventures printed and published into books that you can buy in the game, right? So for all that critiquing of the story structure is exactly the same, I think a lot of the charm of these games, at least the first couple, and even the ones that people don't like, generally they enjoy. It's like the dialogue and character interactions, right? Like that's what people, I think, really enjoy about these games.
Totally. So I guess I'll ask one of my questions about these games now, and it's a question that I think applies to kind of both of the games that we are talking about today. But is Paper Mario a children's game?
I think it's one that's like, I mean, what do you mean? What age of children? Like,
I think it's not very meaningful to call something a children's game past becoming a teenager.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, I think I think this is totally a game that you could play in front of your kids, right? Or with, quote unquote, with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you get to 10 or 12, you'll be able to interact with all the systems by yourself, right? If you've been playing games from childhood, at least. So in that way, yes, I would say it's a children's game. But not in exactly the same way as, you could leave your 3-year-old playing this, you know? Because they can't read well yet, probably.
Of course, yes. Obviously, reading is sort of an important part of many games.
Yes.
And it's difficult to target a certain age of children once there is any reading required.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I ask that because in looking at some of the reviews for the first game in particular, a lot of the kind of praise for it, well, frankly, the reviews for this are just all over the place. Of people who like the game, even within the same review, it's just they love this element and they hate this element, but another review feels the exact opposite. For a game that got pretty good to moderately great reviews, right? Whatever that means, but pretty good reviews. It is amazing to see how little consensus there seemed to be about what was good about it and what was not. So a lot of the positive reaction to the game had to do with its success as being a kind of an introductory RPG. So a good place for people who didn't have experience with RPGs to learn more about those systems. And obviously this was a source of a lot of the critique as well, in that, if it's a good introductory RPG, it probably does a hand-holding that a lot of people who are more familiar with RPGs are not going to appreciate. And the difficulty level, obviously, is at a level that it's not necessarily especially challenging if you have experience. If you're coming to this from playing Final Fantasy, it's probably going to be a bit of a step down. But it did make me think for the first time in a while about, how much many RPGs assume you already know about how things work, and what an important kind of thing something like Paper Mario is for teaching those systems that otherwise can feel just absolutely dense and overwhelming if you're thrown into a game without that familiarity.
Sure. I mean, because there was a big controversy about the new one not having experience points, right? So the old ones have levels, right?
Yeah.
But no not a lot of RPGs, like, explain to you what all the stats are and what the level means right off the bat, right? Like, maybe if you go looking for it, you know, you press the square button in some menu or whatever, maybe it'll explain it to you. But, like, it doesn't really, it just expects you to understand that concept, right?
Yeah. So it's nice to have something that is not only more willing to explain those things, but is also pastel colored and, while not necessarily a children's game, whatever that means. I mean, what is a children's game, right?
Yeah.
But certainly targeted in a way that it is not threatening to parents, right?
Yeah. They feel a bit like Pixar movies to me, but slightly more humorous rather than dramatic, although they have some drama to them too. And I do always think that people perhaps underestimate a little bit what kids can, like, understand. Yeah. You know? Like, I think all those meme, like, anime is not for kids posts, or cartoons aren't for kids posts, that's just like, oh, so they're a little violent. Okay. Yeah. You're right. They're not for kids. Sure. You mean they're for 14-year-olds? I understand. But yeah, like, stuff like that, just like, I don't know, kids are smart. I think some people just don't have a good conception of, like, different age groups within, like, 0 to 14, you know?
I don't.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm an expert. I just think that sometimes the general consensus is maybe a little bit like, protect the children, you know?
Yeah.
Either from things that they don't think they're smart enough for, or things they don't think they're emotionally intelligent enough for, you know?
I'm not emotionally intelligent enough to understand the treatment of Luigi.
Luigi.
Where's Paper Luigi? When? Where is it coming?
There are Mario and Luigi paper games.
Are they paper? I don't know anything about the Mario and Luigi series. I know they're RPGs.
I mean, they're not, like, called Paper Mario. Like, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Like, it's just in the same style as Paper Mario. Mm-hmm. But there's a whole bunch, like, on the DS, for instance, that are, like, Mario and Luigi : subtitle, that are in the Paper Mario style.
Well, those games apparently caused a bit of an identity crisis for Paper Mario. So Super Paper Mario for the Wii in 2007, that one was still pretty well received. This is where it starts to begin the transition from RPG to something in that blob of an action-adventure world instead. But more of incorporates more of the classic Mario platforming there, and does some fun stuff with, like, switching between 2D and 3D. That one's still pretty well received. Then they release a few games like Paper Mario Sticker Star and Paper Mario Color Splash, which is right around the time that Miyamoto starts to crack down on intelligent systems being able to use Mario characters in versions that have not appeared in Mario games before. Yeah. So, R.I.P. to Goombario. Yeah. Basically.
It's basically like they just didn't want them creating new characters, right? Like, the Goomba is, like, a monster, but that's not, like, a character. So, like, Goombario and Goombarella or whatever are, like, intelligent systems, OCs. And Miyamoto was like, no, actually, we just want Mario.
Which feels so dumb, because it feels like much of the kind of, like, fun of those first games is about the characters. And it's just, I understand from an IP perspective wanting to simplify, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Nintendo is very protective of their IPs, so.
Look, there's a lot about that is, like, eye-rolling, but from the very big picture perspective, I get it, right? These are very beloved characters that they have a very specific kind of family-friendly image that they've worked for 30 years, 35 years to maintain of them. And I get the idea behind just don't let anybody give them boobs or whatever. But it does feel like, well, you've worked with intelligent systems for like 10 years. All of these games have been well received. Just like make them approve the character. They already have to get the character designs approved. What's the harm of there being a girl Goomba?
Yeah.
It's difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, those two games were not particularly well reviewed as they moved kind of away from RPG more toward action-adventure cross-genre, as Wikipedia refers to them.
Yeah, Color Splash didn't even really get a chance. Because people were like, as soon as it was announced, people were like, nope, I hate it.
Yeah. Like, oh, great. Helpful.
Yeah.
But the game that came out for Switch this year, Paper Mario Origami King. The Origami King?
The Origami King.
Just talking about Nintendo's IP. And so that came out this year for Switch, and seems to be a little bit of more of a return to, if not form, more of a return to well-reviewed form for the series.
Yeah, I mean, they have original characters again. Apparently Miyamoto was not involved in
barely,
the development.
though. Like, from what I was reading, they're allowed to have original characters, but they aren't allowed to really modify characters that exist. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I haven't played the Origami King, so I can't testify to what that is, but one of the devs was, like, talking pretty excitedly about being able to give some of the Toads new outfits. So that's pretty tight.
I know there's a new talking bomb, so I know that there's new characters in it at least.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of an open world, which is of course where any Nintendo property has to go on the Switch.
Apparently.
Hence the lack of experience, right? But other than, I remember seeing some stuff about the combat being not great, and some people saying, like, why do we have combat at all? Which is sort of funny from a series that has its roots in turn-based RPG combat to have reached 2020 and be like, the combat is pointless, just give me the puzzles.
I think it's partly because, like, it doesn't change.
Yeah. Right?
So there's no experience or leveling in it, so it doesn't, like, necessarily get more challenging in that way, and I don't think they add a ton of new mechanics to it ever, so you're literally just doing the same thing over and over again, was my impression of the problem.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's a common RPG problem.
Yeah.
Regardless, but yeah.
Well, I look forward to Paper Luigi, and I look forward to the dark M-rated Paper Cut Mario, where Mario has scissors and can destroy the world.
Edgy.
I like it. Yeah. Ready to talk about Bugsnax?
Speaking of edgy. Bugsnax.
Look, Google's top suggested question when I googled Bugsnax was, is Bugsnax a horror game?
I have heard things about the ending. That's all I'll say.
I don't want the ending to be spoiled. I have, because I am playing Bugsnax. Bugsnax is the game I opted to play this time. I've been meaning to play Bugsnax.
She opted to play, like she didn't leap at the chance to get Bugsnax.
I've been meaning to play it since it came out, and it was probably on sale over the holidays, and I missed out, and so I paid full price. But
probably. It might not have been. It's pretty new.
I don't know. It was on PS Plus. If it had been on PS Plus or PS4, I would have grabbed it, but it was only for PS5.
Apparently there is a way that you can possibly also, like, not play them, but possibly also grab PS5 games on your computer, as long as you have PS Plus, so that, like, when you get a PlayStation 5, you have those games. I haven't looked into it yet. I just heard it somewhere and internalized it and haven't Googled.
I mean, I've already been thinking about how when you inevitably get one before me, I can try to do the cross-play thing. Remote play.
That's funny.
Do you think that would work?
I don't know. Oh, you'd have to try it. You'd have to log into my account on the PlayStation 4. But yeah, I probably won't be getting that for a while, so don't hold your breath.
Okay, we'll see who caves first. That's stimmy money. That's stimmy.
There's already a ton of... I know. But there's already a ton of games coming out this year that will also be on the PlayStation 4, so... I mean, new The World Ends With You is in July, and it will be on the PlayStation 4, so, like, what's the point of getting it before then, you know?
Fair enough. You can get it on the Switch. Right? Is it coming to Switch? It's gotta be coming to Switch.
Oh, yeah, it's also coming to Switch. I probably will get it on Switch, but I just remembered seeing that it was also PS4, PS5, so...
Fair enough.
It might have just been PS4, actually.
Let's not talk about next-gen, current-gen hardware, whatever.
Sure.
Let's talk about Bugsnax.
Although it is a launch title.
It is. It's a PS5 launch title, Bugsnax.
Yeah.
So Bugsnax is an adventure game. Genuinely categorized as an adventure game. There's not really action. Crazy in 2021 to be talking about an adventure game.
I guess it is kind of an adventure game. I was going to say, like, it's a real-time puzzle game, but I guess that's what an adventure game is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously having that kind of real-time clock, makes it feel somewhat different from the, LucasArts adventure games of old.
Yeah.
But I think it can make a real case that it's an adventure game.
Yeah. It's more... like, not even just the real-time clock, but that, like, you have to sometimes have, like, speedy reaction times to solve the puzzles, right? Where when you think of an adventure game, usually it's just find the right item, use it on the right thing. Your reaction time doesn't really matter.
I hear you, but I wonder how much of that is a function of most adventure games being made in the 90s and early 2000s.
Sure. I'm just saying, that's why I was initially like, because that's my conception of adventure games, right?
Yeah.
And this is definitely more faster paced in its puzzle solving, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. So in Bugsnax, you're a journalist, and you're looking for your next scoop.
A Grumpus.
And you're a Grumpus, yes. You are not... humans don't appear to exist.
Just
perhaps
Grumpuses.
Perhaps that feeds into the horror game aesthetic. Are we on Earth? What happened to humans? Anyway, so you got this tape from Lisbeth.
Lisbert.
I'm sorry, Lisbert. Thank you, Megafig, and she and her charming Australian, or whatever the equivalent accent is in Grumpus world accent, talks to you about these mysterious Bugsnax creatures that she's discovered on the island. And tells you to come on over and check it out and write a story about it. And you're like one of these journalists who seems to chase these kinds of conspiracy theory stories, and sometimes you do a great job, and sometimes you publish stuff that your editor has to retract 1 million papers for. And so your editor is not thrilled about this, but says you can go anyway, and that if you come back and the Bugsnax are real, maybe you'll still have a job.
Yeah.
So you go to Snacktooth Island. Snacktooth Island. That's not quite right, but it's close.
I won't even try.
Emma's all accent. And so you come there, and there's Grumpuses on that island, but Lisbert has disappeared, and not only do you need to kind of, reunite the town to, like, be able to interview everybody about what happened to Lisbert, but then you gotta find Lisbert.
Yeah. You do also part of it is, like, all the residents have left the town now that Lisbert isn't there, because there's nothing, like, keeping them together, and they all kind of dislike each other.
Yeah.
So part of it is convincing everybody to come back to the town so that they can be together for your interviews and such.
Exactly.
According to Ryuji Grumpus.
Is that... I was wondering if it was Ryuji.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not sure.
No,
but it is.
Yeah.
I only looked up up Morgana because I was like 100% sure. I was like, this is definitely Morgana, like 20 million %.
His name is Filbo, but it just, you hear it and you're like, it's Ryuji Grumpus.
For real?
For real.
I can't wait for Filbert to say for real. Filbo, not Filbert. I'm mixing up all of their names.
It's okay, their names are funny. Technically, he's Filbo Fiddlepie.
Yes.
Which is a great name.
It really is. So I started playing Bugsnax this past week. I played 2 or 3 hours, something like that-ish. And it's pretty fun. So the main mechanic, right, is you have various tools. I have acquired so far a Bugsnax trap, like a sauce gun, which I can pick up various condiments to shoot at or lure Bugsnax with. And now I also have a straw bee. Oh, this is what you were talking about. I do have a straw bee and a ball that I can use to get other ones. I thought you were... Emma and I were talking about this a little before we started recording. I thought you were talking about, like, I would somehow catch a straw bee and then I would release it as bait.
No, like, you're using the one in the ball as a way to catch its compatriots.
Yes.
Which is a little disturbing when you start thinking about it. But
to get access to the one in the ball, you had to, like, run it through, granted, a very simple obstacle course, but it really gave me flashbacks to my Super Monkey Ball week in December. And I was like, oh, wow. Baby, you're a strawbee.
It is also... What's his name? What's the farmer guy's name? The rancher guy's name?
Wampus? No,
that's
Wampus
the farm.
Is
the farmer is someone else. The one that keeps all the Bugsnax as pets. The one who gives you the strawberry.
I don't remember the rancher's name. I have just gotten him to come back to town, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, it is also slightly disturbing that everybody eats his pets without telling him.
Look, one of us here is a vegetarian. The other... Just saying. Is it disturbing that you eat the metaphorical cows that he keeps as pets, Emma? Do you find that disturbing?
Without telling him, you know?
I mean, that's fair, I guess.
Like, the sneaking in and, like, taking his farm animals and sneaking out. And you're like, oh, I don't know where your Bugsnax went. That's the part that's a little disturbing.
It's like his pseudo-girlfriend, too.
Yeah.
Who's doing it. I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, so I just watched a bit of Bugsnax this week, and I've read some articles about it, so that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge. But I love the voiceovers for all the snacks.
They're very good. I was sort of impressed. I wasn't... As a game that was announced basically as an indie in June in one of the PlayStation showcase things, I wasn't sure what to expect. And I was about to say, man, the load times don't really feel like something that's, like, polished. But then I'm like, oh, right, it's also for PS5. So probably my, like, my base model PS4 isn't running it as fast as intended to run.
Yes.
Huh. That only just occurred to me.
Yes, that's probably the case.
So I was like, yeah, like, as much as the load screens, like, they populate with the Bugsnax. Oh, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of talking about the actual mechanics of the game before we started talking about eating the rancher's pets.
Yeah.
So you have these various tools, and your goal using those tools is to capture the Bugsnax, which, if you haven't picked up on this already, they are part bug and part snack. Right? It's pretty self-explanatory. So you capture them, and then you can feed them to the villagers to make them grow, like, the equivalent, arm or something. Or, you can feed the pineapple to someone to make them grow pineapple hair.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
If you feed them enough of one type of Bugsnax, they will eventually, like, turn into, like, their whole body will be themed around that Bugsnax. So,
really?
Yeah.
Dang. I shouldn't have just fed random things to Wampus. I was just like, Wampus, eat all the Bugsnax I have because I don't have any room. I woke him up in the middle of the night to, like, eat all my snacks.
I think you can eventually, like, replace things, and I think you get more freedom for, like, customizing different Bugsnax on people.
Yeah.
From
I have that. I can say where the Bugsnax go.
Yeah, like, I think
But
the person who gives you that eventually gives you more functions for that, so.
dope. I'm looking forward to giving them all, like, grape wings and stuff. Just all them flying around. So yeah, so I've been enjoying it. It definitely has some of that Pokemon vibe of right now, only a couple hours in especially, I'm like pretty motivated to try to catch all the Bugsnax I can. I'm sure that will eventually fade. I can't really see it. It's probably not going to be a game where I try to 100% my Bugsnax. But I don't know. Just like with Pokemon, I got pretty close before they added all the new ones with the DLC with this most recent with Pokemon Sword.
Yeah.
So I'll probably get pretty close with Bugsnax if the game continues to be fun.
I don't think there's quite as many Bugsnax as there are Pokemon, too, so that might help.
It's supposed to be a little over 100, I think.
And you also have to help all the villagers out with their problems, so there's that, too. The whole point, well, not the whole point, but alongside catching these Bugsnax, like I mentioned, there's also all these, like, villagers who came to Snacktooth Island for, like, different reasons, who you first have to lure back into the village and then have to, like, help solve their problems, or, in, like, Beffica's case, like, cause problems for other people.
Yeah.
So a large part of the game is, like, getting to know the characters, and as well as getting to know all the Bugsnax.
I'd love a Animal Crossing Bugsnax mod.
Yeah. That would be pretty good.
Just turn all the bugs into snacks.
I don't love that. I don't want to know what the tarantula would be.
Oh boy. I need like a good pun here, and it's not coming to mind. I'll keep thinking.
Yeah, I read in
tarantula.
There you go. I read an interview where they came up how, like, they just spent time just, like, brainstorming lots of Bugsnax names. You know?
I'm upset that nobody gave me a call for that.
I think some of them, like, they came up with the names first, and some of them were, like, they were drawings first. So it was, like, a mixture. But apparently they, like, even with the ones they kept, they had, like, bunches and bunches that they got rid of. Like, apparently the first one they came up with was the waffle fly, I think. And that doesn't even make it into the game, because it wasn't
Well,
good.
it's a pretty weak name.
Yeah.
Waffly, I guess you could do, but...
I think it was also the creative director. I saw this, like, when they announced it, like, he just had tweeted Bugsnax, like, ...
Yeah.
like, 6 years ago, and when they announced it was like, maybe don't tweet your random game, your new future game ideas on Twitter when you first think of it.
Well, Bugsnax was in development. They say it's been in development for 6 years. Now, whether that's 6 years ago he tweeted Bugsnax and then they started working on it 4 years later, who can tell? But,
I mean, their last game was Octodad, which came out pretty decent while ago now. So I believe it. But they've been working on it for a while.
No, supposedly it's because A, they didn't want to burn out. Great.
Good.
And B, because they needed to figure out what the game was.
Also
which,
good.
You know what? Seeing what Bugsnax turns into, like, understandable.
Yeah.
That.
I mean, I'm sure they did just start with Bugsnax, ...
Yeah.
And there's a lot you have to extrapolate out from there.
Well, the fact that they have all of these cut Bugsnax makes me wonder. There have been some rumors in the past, like, day where they've been talking about how, like, they aren't done with Bugsnax. So...
Apparently it does end with a bit of, like, a sequel hook, so...
We'll see if that means, you know, Bugsnax 2, the 1,000-Year Door is coming to GameCube soon. Or if that means Bugsnax DLC. Isle of Bugsnax.
Yeah.
This is already Isle of Armor, so what would it be, like, Crown Bugsnax?
Sure.
You know what? Doing some, like, ice cream themed. Like, I'd love to see some new climates. Maybe I'm gonna get that.
Oh yeah, there's tons of climates. Don't worry, Mel.
Okay, good. Because so far it's only been like grassland and the beach.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for ice cream. This island must have a weird.
I mean, there's Bugsnax on it, so once you're there, you can have a desert and a tundra on the same island. There's bugs that are snacks. You're
right. Weirdly, I mean, so they've talked a lot about the games that they were inspired by for creating this. So, like, Pokemon Snap, which, like, feels very obvious, right? Like, duh. Ape Escape, which I can also sort of see the idea of. And Dark Cloud and Viva Pinata. Viva Pinata, which is a CBB, like, favorite, by the way, which is weird and out of character in some ways, but it's not. He's silly, but it's out of character for much of his Talk This persona.
Sure.
Anyway, I kind of see all of those. Weirdly, the game that it is most reminding me of right now that I am playing is Moon. In that you have to solve puzzles to trap bizarre animals and help people, and there's a day-night system.
Yeah. I mean, pretty good comparison.
So it was only just kind of struck me. I was like, what does this remind me of that I'm doing as I was trapping these animals? I was like, oh, it's Moon, isn't it? Yeah. Big brain. But yeah, I would be remiss, couple things I'd be remiss not to talk about. This wasn't revealed in the trailer, right? That Lizbert and Eggabell are queer icons.
No, I don't think so. The one trailer I remember with the iconic Bugsnax song didn't have a lot of, like, the relationships. It was mostly, like, Bugsnax.
The song. Literally, it was the song.
Yeah,
which, the frankly, song was the right marketing move.
No, there's a lot of, there's more than just them being queer icons in this game, also, so.
Well, I've met all of, like, 5 characters.
Yeah.
I've seen on my screen all of, like, 5 characters.
Yeah.
Literally haven't even met them all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, I mean, it sounded, I was like surprised, right? But I was like, oh. I'll admit that I am not sure that I clocked that Lizbert is a woman at first, to be honest. And the trailer either. Given that Lizbert is potentially a gender neutral, it could go either way, right? Is it based around the Liz or is it based around the Bert?
I guess so, you're right, yeah.
Anyway, so that was a charming surprise for a game that, again, is a charming surprise, particularly in a game that you might call a children's game.
Yeah.
Because we know that children cannot know about the gays.
Yeah. Bugsnax is another one that I feel like fits into the same children's game realm as Paper Mario, in that, like, you could probably stick your 10 to 13-year-old and they could do it themselves. Younger than that, it's probably good to be helping them play it.
I did see one reviewer talk about how this was the first game that their 10-year-old and 7-year-old were able to play pretty much totally alone.
Sounds about right.
Which is cool. And of course, how can we not talk about the iconic theme song? Like, I can't sing it, right? Maybe I can. I don't know. Their most recent tweet was about, like, the rules for fan merch. So maybe they wouldn't come after me if I sang the song.
Just not too much of it. I mean, people do covers all the time, right? So. I
know.
But yes, the iconic Bugsnax song by Caro Caro Bonito.
Which is really, I mean, when you're thinking about how to market a game and what makes a good game trailer.
Catchy tune, but original, you know?
Yes, an original catchy tune. Probably not licensed music. That's not good enough. It's not memeable enough.
Yeah.
If you can get that catchy tune to be sung by Senator Bernie Sanders in a chair with mittens on.
You have it made.
It's too much. Every time I see an image now, I'm like, where's Bernie? Where's Bernie?
It's true. I saw so many this week. He was everywhere.
It's not funny.
Each one was, they're all kind of funny.
Like, each one individually is good. But as a collection, it's like, oh, I'm so tired of it. I can't look at him anymore. Anyway, yeah, you should really get Kero Kero Bonito to do your song for if your game is at all whimsical. This seems to be the takeaway.
Yeah. That's the lesson here.
Because that really, like, when I saw that trailer in June, I was like, I do think that I need to play Bugsnax.
Yeah. I remember.
Now
you guys were very taken with the Bugsnax song.
It's so funny. And I'm so disappointed. Like, it doesn't play on the title screen of the game.
It's probably the credits
song. So far,
song.
The underscoring does seem to kind of suggest the theme sometimes. But not to the point of doing the, like, literally the notes all the way. So I'm so I have to keep playing the game until I get to listen to the song.
It's probably the credits song. That's my guess at the moment.
You've got to be kidding me that I have to play the whole game before I hear the song. If all the villagers don't get together and sing it around the campfire, be pissed.
That's a good idea. I don't know if it happens. I'm sorry.
Speaking of good ideas, that's the idea I'm going to build our mashup around. Is at the end, everybody gets around and sings a song. Maybe it's Luigi doing it.
Yeah, Luigi and his friends. Gather around the campfire.
And here's the problem. I cannot present an idea for a Mario game that features, like the Mario equivalent of Bugsnax, right? Like,
Nintendo's watching you.
Nintendo just heard me even breathe that, and they're like,
no.
You sure? You sure that's something you want to say? So, because it does feel like the charm of Bugsnax is how, like, bizarro silly it is. And that does not seem to be allowed with Mario.
Yeah. I mean, the Paper Marios are bizarro silly, right? Like, they still have that. Even the ones that people don't like as much have that sort of element of whimsy. So I wouldn't cut that. I wouldn't be like, no whimsy in Mario. I mean, even the base Mario games are pretty whimsical, You have a hat that you can possess frogs with in,
Yeah, no, sorry. What I meant to say is, much of the charm in Bugsnax specifically is in the strange character design.
Okay, yeah,
and
sure.
And strange character design in particular seems to be off limits in current Mario properties.
That's fair.
So, yeah, like, that's tough.
Well, we could make a Bugsnax RPG.
Okay, I'm listening.
That's about as far as I got, to be honest.
Come on, flesh it out.
It's it's just you change the puzzles to be turn-based, I guess.
Okay.
So, like...
And you, like, fight the bugs with your sauce gun.
Yeah, like, it's very status effect-based. Maybe.
Give me a Bugsnax first-person shooter.
I guess this is just kind of Pokemon, huh?
Yeah, you do seem to have created Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, maybe the character designs are a little more disturbing, although sometimes the Pokemon character designs are pretty disturbing, so...
Yeah, except, I guess, you're not... Like, it's you versus the animal, right? You don't have your own Bugsnax. And maybe there's not, like, hit points or anything. It's just, like, you affect it with, like... the correct, like, item, right? Like, just like you do currently in the game. And then you can throw your strawberry ball at it and, like, catch them.
Nintendo on the other side is like, you sure about that? Sure you're gonna catch it by throwing a red and white ball?
You give me something here. I don't like what I just came up with, but...
So the challenge is, with Paper Mario, there's very little about it, other than the whimsical element, which is kind of already captured in Bugsnax, right? Like, that's overlapping. There's very little about Paper Mario as an RPG that particularly stands out, right? It's just like Mario does an RPG, and the aesthetic of it is that it's paper.
Sure.
Right? So, it's a difficult mashup, because... on one hand, you can just say, okay, I'm going to take the RPG elements of that and, like, do something. But that's pretty one note, right? And when you do that, you end up with, like, a pretty generic RPG idea, like Pokemon. However, the other unique element is Mario, which is difficult, because then you just create... like, as I was talking about at the beginning, when I was talking about Paper Mario, is like, Mario, but in an RPG. We would create Mario, but in an adventure game.
Yeah. Mario catches bugs.
Well, okay, so if you did a Mario adventure game, what would that be like?
It'd be like Paper Mario.
It would be like Paper Mario without the combat.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we've got, like, one that's hard to take apart and one that, like, has too much stuff. But that all, like, serves each other so uniquely that it's hard to separate it, I guess. You know?
Okay, so let's make a Luigi game.
Okay. We've
Luigi,
We've got
feel
Luigi.
like
He's here.
Luigi feels more
Luigi.
comfortable at home in the world of, like, he's going around solving puzzles, being kind of dumb, and things around him are weird.
Sure, yeah.
Perhaps what I'm about to create is Luigi's Mansion,
But with bugs, so scarier.
Scarier. Yes.
True horror game.
Okay. Or maybe you should play as one of the enemies. Maybe you shouldn't play as Luigi. Maybe you need to, or maybe it's like some kind of unholy alliance of like
Waluigi's time to shine.
You know what? Waluigi could pretty much do whatever they wanted in a Waluigi game, couldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And
the Nintendo has spurned Waluigi, you know?
okay. So give me a medium other than paper. Like, give me a different kind of, like, fun medium for this.
Clay.
A claymation Waluigi game. That sounds dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, claymation style Waluigi. I don't know. Who is Waluigi's, like, princess? Bowsette. Great.
I think it's, like, he's, like, he and Luigi
Wario.
are over, like, Daisy or something.
Okay, sure.
I'm not super up to date on my Mario relationship charts, so...
Fine. It's Daisy. That's fine. Or maybe, like, his pet gets kidnapped. I don't really want Waluigi to have a romance, to be quite frank. So, like, maybe his, like, pet Goomba gets kidnapped.
Okay.
Right? And it's being taken by... There's, like, an evil doctor in the Mario series, right?
Probably.
I'll make one up if there's not. But it's by some kind of, like, mad scientist type character that's gonna do experiments. It's been on the Goomba. And Waluigi needs to find the clues to find clues to where his Goomba has been taken, and also, you know, we'll roll in the, like, RPG idea of, like, in, like, the same way as Bugsnax is, like, you need to capture a certain amount of things. He needs to find... Oh, this is about to get dark. He needs to find the previous experiments of this mad scientist and, like, get them on his side. And so those, Nintendo, don't listen, those are mashups of, like, other Mario characters.
Nintendo, go away.
Shoo, shoo.
Shoo, shoo. Look, there's somebody violating your IP over there. Hurry.
It's a Pokemon fan game. Yeah. That feels weird enough.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that. I think that's got some potential to work with there.
And it's all clay.
Yeah. And it's just clay. I mean, that kind of works with the unholy abominations, you know?
That's what I thought.
Kind of makes them feel, like, sort of malleable and disturbing in a weird way. But
the
without
end,
being, like, unfamily friendly.
Yeah.
Like Coraline.
And in the end, Luigi wakes up and it was all a weird dream. He's like, whoa, I dreamed I was Waluigi. And Mario's like, shut up, bro. Listen to my adventure. And that's the end.
Okay.
And that way we
Beautiful.
can say none of that actually happened. Those aren't real characters.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. We got it.
Well, on that note, listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
Do you have a better mashup idea for Bugsnax and Paper Mario than my bizarro claymation Waluigi adventure game with a mad scientist who's, like, sewing enemies together, apparently? Claying enemies together?
Yeah, like smushing them together. That's horrifying.
Don't think about it. Do you think that Bugsnax and or Paper Mario are children's games? Can you define what a children's game is for me, after all? What's a game you played as a child that you either no one expected you to understand and you did, or that you played too early and maybe you should have waited to be older to play? Have you played Bugsnax, the song stuck in your head at all times while you play it like it is for me? If you have thoughts on any of these things or more, you should hit us up on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. So message us there with your thoughts and follow along for all the updates on what we're playing and what we're thinking, and never miss our episode posts that come out a few days afterward if you don't want to subscribe. And also keep up on what's happening on our website, which you can also find at www.talkthispodcast.com. There you can learn all about the show, check out the games that are in the hat that Emma's about to pull from for our next main episode, and also check out the blog, where you can find long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend, where my boyfriend is playing through the Kingdom Hearts series, and Split Screen, where Emma and I are watching My Hero Academia and Coffee Prince, plus the occasional standalone blog and other, less frequently publishing series and all that good stuff. Finally, if you enjoy the show, you should subscribe. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts online and on the app, Overcast, Pocket Casts, anywhere you can find podcasts. You can find Talk This. So next week it'll be a side quest, and this time it's Emma's turn to pick what we'll be talking about.
No ideas yet.
Yep, so it'll be something good. It's always something good. So tune in next time to check that out, or listen to our episode from last week on Game Award shows in the meantime if you can't get enough. But Emma, what will we be talking about in 2 weeks? What's our old game going to be?
Yeah, so our old game is going to be Shin Megami Tensei. Tensei?
Oh boy.
Tensei.
I'd have to look at the Japanese, wouldn't I? I don't know.
Tensei, I think. And our new game is going to be Spelunky 2.
Nice. Spelunky is fun to say, so on that alone, I am looking forward to it.
Good. I'm glad. Me too.
Does playing Persona count as having played SMT?
I don't know. I think it depends on the availability of any SMT games. How about that?
Sounds great.
Availability and price.
Set my rules, because I'm like, I don't know what Spelunky costs.
Yes, also depends on that,
So we'll play some fun budget games to determine how my rules should be applied.
Yes. I think that's only fair.
Anyway, listeners, it's going to be a great episode as always in a couple of weeks. But until then, we'll sign off. Emma, do you want to try to create a suitably weird sign-off for this episode?
This week, I hope that you are what you eat, even if that is paper.